Hi there. Welcome to Nicole's Recovery Corner. I am your host, Nicole Umberger. And today I'm coming to you from my balcony with my lovely assistant, Lizzie McKenzie, who is feeling under the weather right now. We took her to the ER the other day. She's had some bloody stools, and it's been pure blood. She's been very stressed, and I'm about to tell you why. My son Joshua came home on June 13th, 2023. As you know from all the videos on my YouTube and TikTok and Facebook and Instagram, all I've talked about for the past year is bringing him home. I was under the impression that he was sober in a facility known as Natchez Trace, located in Waverly, Tennessee. This video is also to bring awareness to second-level facilities. There are level 2 facilities all over this country that house children that are taken away from their families, children that are incorrigible, children that are in the system. Now, if you're labeled incorrigible, you usually go to a level 3 facility, but they make exceptions for certain kids. A level 2 facility, you can get a phone in there, you can get vapes of any kind, nicotine, weed, what have you. There are children that are on medications like Adderall and stronger medications alike. They have access to this medication and many other medications, and lots of them don't take it. They trade it for food. They are allowed to have, some of them have PlayStations in there. And it's just like a great big daycare for kids 12 to 18 years old. My son came here under the impression that he was sober. That's what we thought, because that's what we were being told. There were never any drug tests given to him while he was at Natchez Trace. Not a single one. And his therapist was wonderful, is wonderful, and excuse me, my nose is itching. She's wonderful. And we thought that everything was okay. I noticed when we had some visits, which were via Zoom, I saw his face on the video, and he would be really red-eyed, and I'm like, what's wrong with you? Your eyes look really red. Oh, I'm just tired. I've been sleeping. Okay, but now that I think about it, he was stoned, because that's what he looked like. He looked stoned. And I feel now like I've had the wool pulled over my eyes. Granted, the state of Tennessee is still responsible for a lot of wrongdoing. They committed fraud in order to terminate my rights. Now my son has been living with someone who's not biologically related to him. He found out about that at 8 years old. They've had run-ins with the police. They've had trouble with the law. My son has made some outrageous accusations against these people. And I always wondered why DCS didn't follow through with pressing charges. Well, I'm about to tell you why. So, while my son was here, the first couple of weeks were good. We had some moments, we were getting to know each other. He really wanted to make some friends, and I wanted him to make some friends, but some good ones. So a ministering sister of mine through my church, her daughter introduced him to some of her friends, but her daughter hangs out with a lot of misfits, and her daughter just likes those types of people, but she doesn't get in trouble. Well, the girl she introduced him to happened to be a girl who went by the name Danica. And it's funny because I wrote down that name about a month before he came here because it was in my spirit. I heard the name Danica. I told my husband about it. And she ended up having a grandmother that passed away on April 20th, which happens to be my birthday. Excuse me. And so her grandma passed away. The guy who's raising her is not her biological grandpa, but he's known her since she was born. He held her. He was the first person to hold her when she was born. So her and him are bumping heads. He had to go back to work to take care of her. He couldn't even grieve his wife. He had retired to stay home and take care of her. She's bringing my son nicotine, marijuana. My son and I were going through the process of getting him approved for a cannabis card. He was using CBD Delta 9, and that contains 3% THC in it. It's the federal legal amount. It is a product that people under 21 can use under the supervision of a doctor and or parent. His doctor knew he had it. DCFS knew he had it. DCS knew he had it. The Compassionate Use Board is who told me that this is what you need to give him. So that's what we were doing until he got approved. Joshua went behind my back and took my medical marijuana from me. His story is, I gave it to him. No, I did not. He stole it from me. I smelled it in his room, and I went straight to it and found it. And when he came home, I said, you need to go in your room and you need to get me the marijuana that you have. My husband was sitting right next to me. And I said, don't make me ask you again. He sat there for 15 minutes deflecting. And I said, Joshua, if you don't go get it, I will go in there and I will go get it. And you do not want me to go get it out of your room, because I will go through everything in your room and probably find more than you want me to. So he went in there and he got it. And I said, where did you get this marijuana? I took it from you. So you took from me after I told you, don't take anything from me. And so he was getting weed from his girlfriend. We have text messages of him thanking her for the vapes that she brought him. We have text messages of them talking about getting high together. We have messages of him talking to a drug dealer, meeting him over at the park, getting marijuana and vapes. He stole and pawned off a piece of my husband's PS4 that goes to the PS4 for vapes. So he stole and he lied. And then he tried to get me in trouble and tell them that I gave him the marijuana and I gave him too much. That's what really upset me. Not only did you lie and say I gave you that marijuana, you want to go even further and try to make it out like I gave you more than you could handle. And that's why you're doing what you're doing? No. Not gonna fly. And I told DCS, I am not gonna entertain this. Because first and foremost, even if I would have given him marijuana, which I didn't give him the marijuana, he stole it from me. If I would have given it to him, what does it matter? He still tried to buy a gun online and specifically asked for a gun that had bodies on it. He stole from us. So what does it matter? He's just trying to deflect and make me out to be a child abuser or a child neglecter, so maybe they won't look at him anymore. That's all that is. And they know it and I know it. And there's more. He made accusations of the last people that he was with, not the last people he was with, but the people before that. And those accusations were about SA. A friend of his gave me a letter that he wrote to a girl. And he was saying he got SA'd. Well, I asked him about that. And he never fully came out and said it to me. But to somebody else, he was like, yeah, I shouldn't have said that. Because Brian would never do that to me. And that made me feel like, are you serious? So you told somebody you were SA'd by a specific person, and that person didn't, and it really, really grinds my gears, because the first time I ever had any sexual interaction, it was with a guy that I had a crush on. And I told him no, I didn't want to do it. I didn't take off my underwear. I said no, but he did it anyway. And that has really messed with me my whole life. It has. I'm over it now, but for a long time I wasn't. And there was another time that I was taken advantage of. You don't lie about that. You don't tell stories about that, and you don't do that. And he brought it up again in the CFTM meeting and said, well, my mother's the only person I told about that, trying to make it like I'm telling a secret of his. Thank God that they had a copy of the letter and they knew better. I said, he's never told me about it. That's the whole issue. If it happened, we need to talk about it. But he never talks about it. And now he's claiming that I know all the details. I know nothing of what has happened to him because he won't talk. So anyway, Joshua was grounded because he stole from me. We were working on getting him a card so he could use that as a medication, because I thought that was what was best, but now I know he just wants to get high. He was willing to throw my whole family under the bus and say, oh, they did this, just because he doesn't want to take accountability. He stole from me. And it wasn't just weed he stole. He sold something of my husband's. That is ridiculous. And then what else was it? He and I were walking one day because I took his phone away. And I hadn't found out that he was trying to buy a gun yet. But I took his phone away. And I hadn't even went through the messages. I just took it away because I want him to understand that's not what you do here. You don't steal from me and lie about it. And then he said that he don't even understand what he did wrong. I'm like, you took something that did not belong to you, something that you're not even supposed to have. I could lose my medical card and you don't even care. That's the big problem, is he didn't even see a problem with his actions. So we go for a walk one day and we're walking the dogs, August 10th, 2023. And he ends up trying to deflect and say, oh, Danica, you shouldn't have let Danica come over so much. Excuse you? Are you really going to try to blame that little 15-year-old girl for the fact that you don't know how to control yourself? No, sir, not happening. I said, you know what I want to hear? I want to hear you say, Mom, you know what? I am so sorry I lied. I'm sorry I stole. And I don't ever want to do that to you again because I don't want to hurt you. I said, I'm waiting for you to just be a man, and you won't. You're still a little boy, and you need to stop it. You need to stop being a liar and stop being a thief and stop blaming what you do on other people, because nobody holds a gun to your head and makes you choose what you choose. And he said, I don't want to be here anymore. I said, okay, then when your caseworker comes over tonight, because your caseworker's coming at 6, you guys can talk about wherever you want to go. And if he says you can leave, you can leave. So then he tries to run. And my poor puppies see this whole thing going on. So he tries to run. I don't know why, but I instinctively just jumped on top of him, threw all my weight on top of him, trying to hold him down. I squeezed my arms around his shoulders, and we both just kind of folded over like lawn chairs. And I was able to prop myself up so I didn't fall. And I grabbed him by his hair. I grabbed him by his shirt. I'm like, you're not going nowhere. And he was like, if you really love me, just let me go. So I just let him go. I was like, you're going to end up dying out there because you are running to trouble. And he told the caseworkers that I threw him out, that I kicked him out. And that's what he told everybody he talked to. Every single person he reached out to on Instagram, that's what he told them. I ended up changing his Instagram password so he couldn't get in it. I changed his Snapchat password so he couldn't get in it, so I could get those messages and snapshot them and send them to the DCS worker. I deactivated the Snapchat account after I did all that because I don't want him jumping back on there and trying to say anything else. So I just deactivated it. And we sent the phone back anyway. We had to. We got it just for him, and now we got to figure out a way to get off of the contract with it or do something else with the line. And I deactivated all those accounts. He made a new Instagram account when he ran away, and he got caught at Taylorsville Library. He got caught 3 days later, and they took him to the psych ward. And the first thing he says is, Mom, I'm sorry, I keep effing up, and I'm going to do better for sure. He didn't even mean it. There were no tears, no nothing, and I didn't say anything because what was I going to say, okay? Or it just wouldn't have been nice because I was over it. I'm not the type of person, when you keep lying to me, I'm not going to play. I don't play no games. When you lying to me over and over and over and over and over, I'm going to stop you at because that's just how I am. You're not going to lie. Quit freaking lying. It's that simple. Quit lying. There ain't nothing hard, thug, or gangster about lying to your mama. Ain't nothing bad about it. And it just was really upsetting me. So we were there waiting, and I was getting frustrated because I had a very important doctor's appointment. My stress was going up. My stomach's been messed up. My body responds to stress. My 2 dogs have been pooping blood. She started throwing up, bless her heart, the other morning. And I thought she was going to die. I thought I was going to lose her. And she looks for my son every time we go outside. She misses him. She loved him. He doesn't even understand the pain that he's brought just on the dogs. And the dogs are reacting to me. He has no idea what he's done. And him making up stories like that, dude, my husband is a 9-time felon. I'm a 5-time felon. You're trying to bring a freaking firearm in here that's been used in a crime, and you have no consideration for the fact that he's already been to federal prison for felony possession of a firearm. And he did his time. If he gets caught with another gun, he's gone. And we don't know how long it'll be. But how dare he? How dare he? You trying to bring trouble in my home. And he's got this obsession with killing somebody because he's done things in the past. A little boy told on him for vaping when he was in the last foster home, which was my girlfriend. My friend girl out in Tennessee, the old foster mom. And yes, she's my friend girl. She's my friend girl. Me and her have made amends because she's done nothing but tried to help me since everything happened. She had him in her home last year, and he vaped and stole cough and cold pills and syrup. And the little boy told on him, and he went to another foster home while they was trying to find a bed for him in the level 2 facility, and he changed his Snapchat name to Murder for Hire. No, you're not going to do that neither, because you ain't. You know, my husband went to prison for negligent homicide, okay? We do not believe that committing murder is a flex. And anybody who does, you can find yourself off of my page. Find yourself off my channel, because we don't play that around here, okay? We just don't. Every soul is precious, and it's not our job to take any of them away. And I said what I said. I am not okay with somebody thinking it's okay to take another life. I mean, why does he have an obsession with killing somebody? That's what I want to know. He really needs some help. He does. And he's been able to manipulate. See, he's been high in the Natchez Trace place, so he wasn't able to get the help he needed because he wasn't present. He needs to be somewhere where he could be present. I gave him all kinds of jewelry, all kinds of necklaces, bracelets and things. Honey, he didn't wear none of it. He did when he first got here, and then he met that girl and started wearing a cross around his neck. And I don't have a problem with the cross, but I'm Mormon. And we believe that living the example is the best way to wear a cross around your neck. Wear one if you want to, but if you ain't living that life, that cross ain't doing you no favors. And that's the truth. And he said, is it okay if I wear it? I said, you can wear it, but do you believe in Jesus? I don't know. Do you believe in God? Yes. Okay. Are you going to follow his commandments and do what he wants you to do? Why are you wearing it then? You just wearing it because she gave it to you. And she didn't like the fact that we were Mormon, and she was always feeding that to him. And it's like, I told him, if she really cared about you, she'd quit trying to separate you from God and push you towards God. And then she trying to manipulate me, messaging me, asking me, oh, I think I need God. I was like, then you need to get him. That's all I can tell you. You need to get him, because yes, you do. She was talking about how she wants to hurt people, how she's violent. She beat the crap out of her 75-year-old grandpa. All because he wanted to take her phone away because he picked her up at 1 a.m. in the morning from a trap house. She smashed all his security cameras. She's something else now. She came here demanding to see Joshua after she pulled the fire alarm at the juvenile receiving center where she was being held after beating the crap out of her grandpa. And she pulled the fire alarm and ran because all the doors unlocked. She came over here at 8 a.m. in the morning demanding to see my son. I just happened to be outside with the dogs. I was like, the best thing for you to do is to go, girl, because I'm going to call the cops if you come up here again. You need to go get help. She said, I am getting help. No, you're not, because you're here. Oh, I'm in a foster home. No, you're not. You're not in a foster home. You're staying at the JRC. You haven't been fostered. You need to get help, and you need to quit coming around here and bringing trouble. If you really cared about him, you'd quit bringing trouble around here, because now I'm going to go in there and fuss at him because you just showed up. She said, if you really cared about him, you quit trying to make him a Mormon. I said, well, you know what? Take that up with him, because he's the one asking for the books. He's the one asking if he can pray with us. He's the one coming and sitting with us when we read. He's the one asking about being baptized. Talk with him about that. I said, but that right there is the problem. You need to go. You need to go. Get yourself together, both of you. And maybe in a month, I'll let you come over twice a week. And then she got smart again. She said, he'll find a way to see me. I said, then you know what? Scratch it. You can never come to my house again. Since you want to blatantly disrespect my rules and my boundaries, you can just stay the heck away. I mean, seriously, how can you expect somebody to respect you in a relationship if you want them to disrespect their own mother? He just came home after being away for 15 years. What, are you jealous of that? Are you jealous that I fought for him and I want him? Because she's got issues with her parents. I'm like, you really need to go get you some help and quit coming around here. I'll call the cops next time. I promise I will. And she dropped something off around the corner. And I guess she got word to him after he lied to me and told me he wasn't talking to her. She got word to him through somebody here in this complex that they both know that she left something for him. And he went and got it because it was in the messages. I got what you left. Or tell Danica I got what she left. And I told him, whatever you got, you better get rid of it. And this was before I took his phone. But when I took his phone, that's when he ran and he got caught. They would not deem him eligible to be held at the hospital for a psychiatric hold. He doesn't want to live. He's made it very clear in his messages, I'm going to die. I just want to die. But he's not going to admit he's suicidal to the hospital, and he's a kid. I don't understand why they wouldn't just hold him. He needs to get on some medication. He needs mental health services. He does not need to be on cannabis because he has an addiction. And I never thought I could say that somebody's addicted to weed, but he's just addicted to everything that he does because he just wants to numb. But he went to the JRC, and Danica is at the other part in the girls' home. So they made plans to run, and they did. And they stayed gone for one night, and then the next morning, 2 nights, and then the next morning she was caught at her grandpa's house down in the basement. Her mama called them and called the police, and she called me, and they were picked up. Now, since Joshua was picked up and taken to JRC, since the first time, I got one phone call from the JRC, one of the employees telling me to bring some more clothes. I haven't heard from my son. He hasn't called me. He hasn't made an effort to talk to me. I mean, it would have meant so much if he would have just called and said, Mom, can you come here and see me? I really want to talk. I don't want to go back to Tennessee. Please, let's talk this out. I will do whatever you want. And I would have been like, okay, well, we're going to find somewhere for you to go inpatient because you can't come home. You're not sober. You can't come home. And I'm a medical patient. We got to get you sober. You know, I would have thought about that. I told CPS or DCS, I said, if he gets help for about a year, I will consider taking him back into my home. But he needs rehabilitation, real rehabilitation in a level 3 facility, not a level 2 because he can compromise it. And they said, well, he's going to go to a level 3 facility whether he likes it or not because he's in the fast lane to the penitentiary. And when we got on the CFTM meeting, he went on there and he was loud and clear about what he wanted and made it very clear that he was like, me and my mom just don't get along. The only reason we don't get along is because he wants to lie. We were fine until he started hiding stuff and lying to me and stealing from me. When that started, yes, I changed because now I have to look at you different. What are you going to do today? What's going to happen today? The police came to my house 4 different times, twice because of her and twice because of him. He don't even care. I'm trying not to have the police here. You know, it's been over 10 years since I've dealt with the cops. I don't want to deal with them no more. I'm done with that way of living. You know, and he just totally disrespected my home. I believe if we wouldn't have been so high up on the 3rd floor, if he could have snuck her in this house, he would have. Because she ran away too. I'm heartbroken. I'm heartbroken. My dog's heartbroken. I'm praying to God that she gonna get over it. I don't know if she'll ever be the same again. I mean, she is really, really depressed. And it's so sad. I've lost my smile. I don't smile the same anymore. I don't laugh the same anymore. I don't feel the same anymore. This has changed me. There's a pain that I get here. And when this happened, it got worse and began growing. And now I've got that going on. And it's constant. I have to sleep with a heating pad on my stomach because I have to sleep sitting up, because now I'm back to losing weight, can't sleep laying down, stop breathing. This has affected me. I wanted my son here because I didn't want him locked up somewhere if I could help it. I've got 3 other children. I got 2 boys, 18 and 24. One's about to be 19, one's about to be 24, excuse me. They live in South Carolina. Now, my 18-year-old just came and saw me. He spent 10 days here. And Joshua barely did anything with him. They went out and did some things together, but, I mean, he was more tied up with that girl because he was lying. Because he was doing things he's not supposed to be doing. And it's a shame. When he would go to church with us, he'd be like, I think I'm going to try the church. He'd say that every time. I say, well, if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you're already trying it. But I didn't know then that he was lying to me. And he doesn't even care that he's hurt me. He has no empathy towards me right now. Because right now, he wants to be some Billy badass, excuse my language, but that's the only way I see it. He wants to be some little Billy badass. Like, please, honey, at best, you might be a Wish app thug. At best. And I'm only saying that because you're my son. I'm just really, really let down. And there's people that say, oh, well, that's what CPS does. They give the gift that keeps on giving. CPS is responsible for committing fraud to not return my son to me. My son was not as badly abused as he claims he was. My son has exaggerated a lot of his accusations to make it fit his narrative because my son has issues. And my son has a biological father who suffers from mental health issues as well. And my son has a half-brother by that man who is locked away in a residential facility, not because he's done anything wrong, but because of how he thinks and who he is. He thinks like a sociopath, and I'm trying to be very delicate here because I still consider that boy my stepson. Me and him was in conversation together up until last year. But he's locked up. He's 20-something years old. He's locked up in a residential facility because he does what Joshua does. And I told Joshua, you're going to end up there if you don't stop. And that's not what we want. So hopefully we can get Joshua the help he needs. I did reach out to the caseworker today, and I asked her, take your time getting back to me because I know there's a lot going on. But can we please find a loophole around this fraudulent termination of parental rights so I can have a say in how his treatment goes, so I can have an influence on what needs to happen to help him prepare to exit custody in 2 or 3 years. Can we please find a way? Because he's got a dad that's involved now. His dad is sober. His dad's doing very well. His dad has a fiance that is helping him to be his best. And I am in contact with them, and we are all trying our very best to get through this and co-parent through this situation together. Josh's dad is also in the medical cannabis program where he lives as well. And so Joshua can't go live with people that use medical cannabis if he doesn't know how to handle himself. He's self-medicating right now. That's what he's doing because he doesn't want to think about what he needs to think about. So I told her, we want the best outcome for his release when he's gone. And we just don't know that DCS knows all of what they need to know in order for that to happen. So we want to be able to keep contact. That way, one day when he wakes up and says, wow, my mom was really just trying to help me, he can. And when he says, I think I'm ready to call my mom, he can. And I'll be there. If he's going to call me and say, Mom, I'm so sorry. I really am. I'm going to give him that chance. I've already forgiven him. Because I know that he's just a kid. I've already forgiven him. So right now, Joshua is sitting at the JRC again. We pray to God that he doesn't find a way to get out again. Unfortunately, the JRC is not a security facility or a secure facility. If they pull the fire alarm, they can run. And they were trying to tell us that when we brought him. And I said, listen, I cannot have him in my home, because if he brings a gun in my home, we're done. So I would rather him be here and take the chances on him running than have him in my home. That is how afraid and stressed out we are. I said, and I know as a regular civilian, you don't understand that, but we are 9 and 5-time felons, my husband and I. We cannot have that. Do you understand? And she was like, yes, I do. Because when we first brought him there, it just felt like they were just like not trying to take him. And I'm like, listen, his caseworker said I could bring him here when he got found. Now we need to bring him here so they can get him and do what they need to do. You know, and it's really, really hard because they have no discretion. So he heard me. He heard everything I said. And I'm sure that just made him feel wonderful about himself. You know, he probably thinks my mom hates me. And I wrote in the back of his journal, a mother never loses her love for her son. No matter what. That never changes. A mother will always want what's best for him, even if it's not her. I wrote that in the back of his journal. Hopefully he'll see it. And I just pray that in 2 or 3 years, I have an update that he's better, that he's doing good. And I thank you all for this journey. And I worked really hard. I worked so hard. And I tried so hard. And I wanted good things for him. My mama used to say, want in one hand and crap in the other, and see which one fills up faster. But you know what? God has been good to me. He's given me everything I've asked for. And I'm not saying that I didn't deserve this. Maybe I did. Maybe Joshua did deserve to come home and spend time with me and see how we live. Because we weren't mean to him. I yelled at him 2 times because he had stuff in my home that he's not supposed to have. Well, that was the one time. The other time was when she came here at 8 a.m. demanding. And I wasn't yelling at him. I came in yelling, I'm so sick of this girl. She needs to leave and never come back. And then, you know, I told him what she said, and he wasn't even affected by the fact that I was hurt. He was worried about her. And I said, you know what? You are worried about her. She didn't bring you home. She didn't fight to get you here. I did. And you don't even care that she just disrespected me on my lawn, in front of my home, in front of my neighbors, and demanded that I just let her in my house. You don't even care that she treats your mother this way. How will she treat you? If she treats your mother this way, how will she treat you? You really, really think this girl loves you? She don't even love the man that held her as soon as she was born. She's callous and cold-hearted, and you're going to find out the hard way. So they ran away together, and they got found, and you know what? I'm terrified that she could possibly be pregnant by him because they were having sex. Her grandfather said that when he woke up, he could hear them in the shower. And I guess that's when he called his daughter to come, because he's old and she's put her hands on him before and he didn't know what they would do. But they were smoking weed, smoking cigarettes, and having sex in his shower. 15 and 16 years old. And it's a shame. And I'm not humiliating my son, so don't you dare come over here and say, oh, you're telling all his... But he's humiliating himself. He is humiliating himself with his actions. I am livid. And we don't deserve this. And yes, he's got problems, but CPS is not 100% responsible. When you know better, you do better. And Joshua has known better for quite some time, and he has still been pulling the wool over all of our eyes. So the most I can do is hope for better and pray that someday, soon, he wakes up. I really hope that any of you who have children in level 2 facilities that you're trying to get, that you very strongly consider putting that child in a rehabilitation facility where they can be drug tested and monitored for at least 90 days prior to coming home. And if you don't want to do that, get them drug tested on a weekly basis at least, just to make sure they're not using. We're going to go. My baby is over here. She's trying to rest. But I love all of you supporters and followers and subscribers. Thank you so much for all you've done. And I'm going to continue to do the work. I have a podcast that I'm going to link in the description of this video. It's called Nicole's Recovery Corner. You can find it on Spotify. Please feel free to reach out. I'll tag my Linktree below. And if you want to email me your story and let's get on the podcast, talk about it, let's do it. That's all I have to say. Until next time.